take a trip in my airship. Come take a sail among the stars. Come have a ride around Venus. Come have a spin around Mars. Show us to us while we're busy. Show us to see while we school. Come take a trip in my airship and we'll visit the man in the moon. Will the audience please join me in whistling the chorus?
Hello and welcome to Airship 27's podcast number 96, part 2 of our homecoming podcast, listing the 18 books published since our last broadcast. On issue 95, we told you the first 9 of those 18, and from here we will give you the second 9 of those. And here alongside me to do that, virtually, is Captain Ron Fortier. Hi, Ron.
Howdy, amigos, or should I say pilgrims? John used to say.
Oh, my. Just
trying to lighten the mood up a little bit, but hey, we're really thrilled and happy to be back with you guys. Again, it's been way too long since we've done these. And as Rob already indicated, we're going to finish off the 18 that we put out since our way back early spring show.
Podcast 94. Yeah, since then.
Yeah. So, without further ado, we start off with, as we always do, with the bad joke of the episode. And 96 falls into Rob's lap. So go to it.
All right, here we go. A farmer stopped by the local mechanic shop to have his truck fixed. They thought it might have something to do with the transmission, so they couldn't repair it while he waited. He told the mechanics that he didn't live far away and would just walk home. On the way home, he stopped at the hardware store and bought a bucket and a gallon of paint. He then stopped by the feed store and picked up a couple of chickens and a goose. However, struggling outside the store, he now had a problem: how to carry his purchases home. While he was scratching his head, he was approached by a little old lady who told him she was lost. She asked, "Can you tell me how to get to 1603 Mockingbird Lane?" The farmer replied, "Well, as a matter of fact, my farm is very close to that house. I would walk you there, but I can't carry this lot." The old lady suggested, "Well, why don't you do this? Put the can of paint in the bucket, carry the bucket in one hand, put a chicken under each arm, and carry the goose in your other hand." "Why, thank you very much. That works just fine," he said, and proceeded to walk the old girl home. On the way, he said, "Let's take my usual shortcut and go down this alley. We'll be there in no time." The little old lady looked him over cautiously and then said, "I am a lonely widow without a husband to defend me. How do I know that when we get in the alley, you won't have your way with me?" The farmer said with some irritation, "Holy smokes, lady, I'm carrying a bucket, a gallon of paint, 2 chickens, and a goose. How in the world could I do that?" And he replied, "Set the goose down, cover him with the bucket, put the paint can on top of the bucket, and I'll hold the chickens." I think you saw that coming, but yeah.
Oh, a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
They're not called bad jokes for nothing.
Yeah. Cheers.
All right. Oh. All right. Hey, let's pick up where we left off. I'll let you, you had the joke, so let me get started.
Okay.
Titles here, okay? The second 9 of those 18, and that was Barry Baskerville and the Stolen Car. Story by Richard Kellogg, art by Gary Cotto. This is the newest in our children's book series about Barry Baskerville, the boy detective who wants to be like his hero, Sherlock Holmes. He's a fun
ongoing series, a lot of fun. And Gary just does very colorful, fun illustrations for it.
I mean,
each issue is a wonder. Yeah.
I didn't put a number to this, but what? We're close to 10, aren't we?
I'd have to look. It might be 10, but I I don't have it handy, so I don't know exactly how many, but yeah.
I think it is. And
Well, let me look. I have just pull things up here
the
on my
author,
computer.
Richard Kellogg, is a retired college professor from New York. He started doing these for his granddaughter, a few years back when he hooked up with Airship 27, because he was familiar with our Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective series, and brought us this idea to our attention. I went and got Gary, because Gary's my partner in Mr. Jigsaw comic book series, and Gary just loves doing these. So again, I think hopefully they're finding an audience. And
it is 10.
It is 10.
It is 10. That was number 10. Yeah.
I mean, hey, look, all you loyal airmen out there, all right? I mean, regardless, if you have younger children, the age target, I think it's like 10 years old, maybe.
Yeah, I had 9 to 11, I think, is the numbers, if I remember right. But, yeah, something like that. And of course, it's fun enough that adults can get something out of this too. It'd be something great to read to even younger kids and show them the pictures. So yeah.
Well, listen, if you've got grandchildren, these make absolutely fantastic Christmas gifts, birthday gifts, or whatnot. All right. I've taken some of these to conventions, especially for parents who show up with little kids, right, who aren't ready for comics yet or whatever, and that kind of stuff. So they're really worth checking out. And I know my exchanges with Richard, he harbors in his soul, all right, this thought that sooner or later, all right, somebody's going to see this, because I think it would adapt really well as some kind of a children's movie series or whatever.
Yeah, even live action. It could be even live action. I think it would lend itself well to a cartoon series, but I think even live action would be fun with it. So anybody who's out there got a lot of money and wants to produce something, there you go.
Give us a call.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go to the extreme opposite spectrum of what we put out.
The Sheriff of Hell, a weird Western novel by Carson Demmons about a British dandy who arrives in the Arizona town called Hell and ends up being the sheriff. Artist Sam Salas does the interior illustrations, and Adam Shaw turns in another amazing, eerie cover.
He gave it that red overtone for the cover.
Yeah, it's like you're on the edge of hell. Everything's got a red tinge to it.
Well, let me tell you. Since starting, doing weird westerns, and I've written a few myself. When I got this script and I started reading through it, it was just such a different twist on the whole concept. All right. Because the protagonist, like I said, is a British dandy. And he shows up in this town. It's just basically filled with all the nefarious, rotten outlaws and skullduggery guys and rustlers. Just a bad lot, right? And somehow or other, he ends up being the sheriff. Through weird twists of fates or whatever, right? To a point where I'm almost thinking of an old Bob Hope Western. All right, which he did a couple with, like Roy Rogers and Jane Russell or whatever. I'm forgetting the titles of them now, but it was based on that same idea that he'd fall into trouble but always come out smelling like a rose, right? Yeah. But this again has overtones where by the time you're through half the book, you get the comedy, but you begin to suspect that there's more to this guy than meets the eye, right? And that's what I'm not going to give away, no spoilers or whatever. But Carson's a great writer. It's a unique, different kind of weird Western, and recommended highly. All right, and so keeping in tune with Hades, we come to a much more published.
And these were published back to back, by the way.
Back to back.
When we printed them, they were within a week of each other. So yeah.
The Devil You Know. Yep. It's a novel by Glenn Hell. It's a terrific read. We're in a classic group of pulp heroes. Ravenhood, Stepson of Mystery, Ascot Keene, Major Steel, and Secret Agent X team up to fight the master criminal wizard, Dr. Satan. Bob did all the interiors, and one of my favorite covers of the year so far. That cover I mean, with Satan predominant in it, laughing. It's brilliant. It's absolute. It shook up everybody
fun.
at the Pulp Factory when we released it. All right, and it was pretty much, again, what like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen kind of thing.
Very much like that. Yep.
For pulp heroes. All right,
and
it's the first novel.
Fun like that.
Yeah, it's the first novel Glenn Hell has given us, and definitely wants to do more of these kind of team up books, to which I've given him thumbs up and said, hey, we're ready anytime you have one set to go. Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed reading it a lot. It was a fun book. My favorite pulp character is Secret Agent X, and we haven't done one of his books for a while. So it was nice to dip the toe in the Secret Agent X water for an issue or two. And then Dr. Satan. I haven't done anything with him since we did Hounds of Hell. So yeah.
Well, we did.
I think he's been in another story, but I don't think I drew him. I don't remember drawing him. I may be wrong there.
I'm trying to think which one it was, but it's in the last anthology, Brother Bones collection I did.
Okay, so
Satan
I did.
Shows up.
So
all right, it goes toe to toe with Bones. Right.
Yeah.
Because you and I have been dealing with this character for decades now, because we did that Dr. Satan comic strip, right? Mm-hmm. For that 1 year tryout thing, adventure?
Yeah, where people were having branches growing through their head and growing through their brains.
Right. Ooh. The original story from Weird Tale, which we adopted into strip form. And yeah, he's a classic pulp villain who appeared, as we say, in the Weird Tales magazine. All right. So now your turn, buddy.
Okay. Yeah. The next one, I've got to scroll down here. Ravenwood, Stepson of Mystery. This one's volume 5. Features a novella by Dexter Fobby. I think that's the other book Dexter ordered in that ill-fated order that he put in. And 2 short stories by Carson Demmons and Michael Housel. Sam Salas, who we just heard from on Sheriff of Hell, provided the interior illustrations, and Adam Shaw stepped up and did another spooky cover for us for Ravenwood, Stepson of Mystery, Volume 5.
Yeah, totally. Again, another classic character from the golden age of the pulps. If my history's correct, my pulp history, I know this for a fact. You were mentioning your favorite, pulp character being Secret Agent X. Mm-hmm. The truth of the matter is, for a short period in the couple of years that the Secret Agent X magazine was being published, right? The backup feature, which was the shorter stories, were where Ravenhood appeared. All right. Yeah. And basically, I think there were only maybe 6 or 7 Ravenwood stories total. All right.
So we've already surpassed that by quite a bit. Yeah.
By leaps and bounds.
5 volumes of at least 3 or 4 stories. Yeah.
Right.
So we've already done more.
Which has always been the goal of Airship 27 is to spotlight these B characters, to put them on center stage, all right, and give them a lot more adventures they never had during their initial run. So Ravenwood to me was one of those fun characters. I've written some stories about him, and so have a lot of our other colleagues in other publications as well. And he works. He's just a great occult detective. So there you go. All right. So following that, we went off and did Pulp Mythology, Volume 3. This one featured stories by Teal Glenn James, Eric Esquivel. Hope I said that correctly.
Esquivel?
Yeah, it's his first work for us. Somebody I met on LinkedIn and saw what we were doing, and then submitted a submission, and now he's one of our regulars. Harding McFadden and his daughter, Iris Hawken, all right, they had a ball doing that together, and Elizabeth Freeman. Artist Ron Hill, who we mentioned extensively last episode,
right,
did, again, the interiors and the cover. And one of the fun things about this particular volume is, obviously, we address mythology throughout the world. to the various cultures. So we've had stories on Chinese mythology, we've had American mythology, Western mythology, right? What does Eric go and give us, which we had to highlight as the cover? There was no way we weren't going to give us, right? It was what's his name? Oh, now I'm going to do it. The Steel Driving Man, John Henry. John Henry, yes. Steel Driving Man, all right, fights vampires. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding, right? These guys are brilliant. It's so innovative. It's a great story, and there was no way.
That's the cover, and that's the cover with him with that hammer,
with the hammer, Steel Driving vampires. We have
the pulps,
right? We have, as of right now, we have Volume 4 finished. All right, it's in the files. I'm kind of hoping that ultimately Ron Hill is working on another project for us. It's another Altiva adventure by all right, by Teal.
James Glenn. Yeah.
Right. Okay. He's working on that. And I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed that when he wraps that up, our next assignment I want to give him is another pulp mythology, and let him run with it, doing the interiors and the cover as he did already. All right. Because these things are fun. They're just a lot of fun. And like what Eric did with John Henry and past, we had Pecos Bill, and we've done all kinds. We've had Hercules. It's a wide range. But I remember as a kid in high school, I loved mythology. I loved all those stories of the Greek gods and all the battles and Odysseus and Ulysses and like that.
Yeah, the one story that really stands out to me is Hercules cleaning the stables by changing the course of
the river.
That's thinking, man. That's thinking.
All right. So, and after we were dealing with mythology, we went back to
and Geezers #2 or Geezers 2 by Daryl Purcell. The old Vietnam veterans group from the senior facility returned with 2 brand new adventures. This is spot illustrated by the author with a truly stunning and evocative cover by Adam Shaw. I don't remember. Yeah, we did get a preliminary on this cover, and I was just blown away. And my biggest problem was being careful not to cover up that really moving image with the logo. And I finally pull it down from the top and set it off to one side behind. And you guys will see it when at the end, in the end credits. I'll put off all the covers for everything, and you can see what a great cover it is. And I won't give everything away, but I had to figure out some way to get that logo from the top, where some really important and moving stuff is going on in that image. You know what I mean?
Oh, hey, look, but when we were done with it, I had really had a fondness for the cover he did for Geezers 1. Now, the cover for Geezers 1 had basically the top of a bureau with a purple heart, on a case, and a picture of some Vietnam veterans together in a photograph, a folded flag, or whatever, mementos like that, all right, which was evocative and really well done. But for this, Adam somehow or other just was so inspired. I mean, it's phenomenal, right? That it's basically an old veteran walking past us, right, almost out of the frame. You see him wearing his baseball cap and the patch on his military jacket, right, set up against a blue sky with clouds. And what's happening in the clouds are a group of combat soldiers going into battle.
In the shapes of the cloud.
I almost cried, Rob, when I saw that image. All right.
Yeah.
I've begged Adam, he should be doing prints. All right. I mean,
that one especially. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for veterans, anybody. All right. I mean, and I would buy one of those in a heartbeat. I'd have it framed and up in my office. Okay. It's that gorgeous, powerful an image, and going to be one of my top nominations.
And like I said, I did not want to cover any of that up with the logo, but number one, Amazon insists on there being the name of the book on the cover. So I just had to be a little inventive, and I essentially have it slightly behind the character walking across in front of you. So he's walking across in front of the logo. So yeah, but yeah, what a great image! What a great image!
Like I said, I'm nominating it for the Pulp Factory Award.
Yeah,
this
it's
year.
right up there on my list too. Yeah.
All right. So then it seems like a lot of the second half of this list is like the echo chamber from what we did last episode. But hey, this is what these people send us. And so what do we have next? Metropolis Resurrection. All right. And I hinted at this in last episode when we did volume 2 of the prequel series, The Towers of Metropolis. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, no sooner did we have that out than basically 2 really talented writers, Charles Santino and Michael Panush, Michael being one of our regulars, all right, notify me they've written this prequel novel to the 1927 sci-fi film classic by Fritz Lang, all right? I read this thing and I could not believe how well it was done, all right? Supposedly Charles did the outline and gave it to Michael, and Michael did the full novelization from it, all right?
Okay.
And of course, as we mentioned last episode, I knew instantly, all right? We had just published Metropolis Towers, Towers of Metropolis Volume 2, and with James Lyle doing all the artwork, all right? And the minute this thing came in and I read it, I ran back to James and said, James, you want to do another Metropolis book? And I explained to him what we had. So James goes, yeah, send me the script. At least send me the script. Okay.
Yeah, he jumped right on it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, within 2 days of reading the first couple chapters, like myself, he was blown away and basically said, I have to illustrate this. All right. He was bloody excited. Okay. Well, long and short of this is all of us got caught up in it. And once I finished reading and editing it, and James started turning in his illustrations, and then that cover of his, all right? It was a case of, I knew we had something special on our hands, all right? It's outside the Towers series. It stands alone. It's a standalone novel, but definitely a really thought out prequel, all right? Yeah. With a lot of heart. And so in talking with Rob, we basically kicked around, can we do something else to make this extra special? And our answer to that was, let's do a hardback edition. So Metropolis Resurrection will be out in its regular, normal Airship 27 paperback format. It'll be out in Kindle, okay? Now it's going to be out in hardback edition as well.
All of those are available now at the website and at Amazon. So, yeah, they're out there. They're out there to order now. So,
I'm waiting for my hardback because I wanted one immediately.
Yeah, I just got. Who was it? Charles Santino ordered one of each to be sent to him, and today his paperback came.
Okay.
And so I checked out the order. And my thinking is it takes a little longer for them to produce the hardcovers. Yeah. I think there's only certain places in the country that do those, whereas the paperbacks, I think they do them in different places across the country. And his hasn't even shipped yet, his hardcover. So I'm figuring in the next day or two it's supposed to ship, because he's supposed to get it no later than the 10th, I think it was.
Okay.
No, the 5th. The 5th through the 8th of September. So that's next week. So it could show up sooner than that. But yeah, sometimes those hardbacks take a little longer. If you order direct from Amazon rather than going through us, you get your books quicker, but you pay more for them. So at least our creators pay less for them when we order them for them. So yeah. But yeah, they're all out there ready. Go to the website. There are links there. You can order those directly from Amazon and get your own copies.
I'll be very anxious to see what the reaction is to that when it's out. When people get copies or whatever. And their thoughts and feelings. We were talking last episode about the uniqueness and the place in cinema history Metropolis holds. I mean, we go to the point where I know for a fact that in a lot of universities, okay, that teach cinema history. There are like literally sessions given to Metropolis. All right. It's that important. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, our writer friend Fred Adams has taught classes on Metropolis, has given lectures on it.
I didn't know that. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me because of what I've heard about this film. Again, I have not seen it yet, but it is on my list of films to see, definitely.
All right.
It's like Citizen Kane. I haven't seen that one either. I must see that at some point.
Yeah, it took me a long. I only saw Citizen Kane, I think, well into my early 40s. But I finally caught it on like Turner Classic Movies when they were showing it. I said, "That's it." I said, "Nobody bother me. Do not interrupt me. Take the phone off the hook."
I want to watch this. Yes.
I want to watch it, and it's the one and only time I've ever seen it. But quite honestly, I understand why it's considered a classic. Okay.
Yeah,
and
it broke ground on all sorts of things in cinematography and storytelling in movies.
Well, it's all Orson Welles. I mean, Orson Welles literally, was the creation of this project. And obviously, as most people know, it's his satirical stab at William Randolph Hearst. All right. And it's pretty brutal in that regards as he goes through it. But the filming and his concepts and his ideas, again, we're doing the same thing as Lang. He was doing things that nobody else had done in cinema. And I mean, it's if you haven't seen it once, you need to see it just once.
Yep. I know about it, and I've read a bunch of stuff about it, but I have not seen it. I don't think I've even seen scenes from it, except where Spud, everyone's seen that. But other than that, I haven't seen much of it. If it ever shows up on a cable network when I'm traveling, I'm definitely going to sit up and watch it. Definitely. But and it's on my list of videos to either purchase or find some way to watch. It'd be great if some local theater would put it up so I could see it.
Yeah. What is it like? What was it? Fandango every now and then brings back to movie theaters old classics like Casablanca and others all the time.
Yeah,
right?
Which should really be seen on the big screen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and I'm not talking about the wall sized one in your living room. I'm talking about the wall sized one at the theater.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, a few years ago, Fandango brought back King Kong. Right. And it's my all-time favorite movie. And that's only because I saw it in a theater when I was like about, I don't know, 8 years old, maybe. All right.
Oh, great time to see that.
It seared itself into my noggin till, like I said, I've seen it literally hundreds of times now. Okay. And yeah, it still does the same thing to me. I love that movie. I love that film. I know its history, its background, all that good stuff. And so here's Fandango going, well, it's going to be at the theater. And I looked at Val and said, we're going to the movies.
We're going.
What a rush. What a rush to be sitting in a theater again, that giant silver screen. And here comes the music, Max Steiner's score, right? And there's Kong. And it was a great experience. Okay. I mean, it's like you said, you can do the stuff at home. But if you're brought up in our generation, at least, okay, going to the movies and seeing these things up there on that big silver screen, that's something you can't duplicate at home. I don't care how big they make the screens.
No, especially you can't duplicate the audience.
No, it's a social event, right?
Yeah, there's the aura that the other people in the theater give off that you feel.
Right. Everybody's cheering or screaming at the same time,
or just in awe of whatever's going on the screen. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yep.
It's a different experience. Definitely. Okay. So next, and I don't know how this is pronounced, so I'm gonna pronounce it how I hear it in my head. Warrior of Rigel, like the I think there's a star called Rigel, by Gary Lavisi. This is an action-packed sword and planet fantasy adventure in the same vein as the Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter of Mars series. Artist Ron Hill, there's that name again, provided all the interior illustrations as well as a dynamic wrap-around cover. And another special that we did for a great book. And this is where I think Ron Hill he's got it now. He's really got how to pull off a really good cover. And this one he knocked it out of the park. Color, everything.
I mean, it reminded me so much, and happily so. Okay. I mean, my only directive to him when he asked to do the cover, right, was because I knew composition wise he's a skilled artist, but my only directive to him was I want a lot of color. Make it as garish as you can make it. All right. Yeah. I mean, do not be subtle with this. All right. This is pulp. All right. This is Sword and Planet. All right. It needs to look right in your face. Bright colors. And boy, did he deliver. The reds, the purples, everything. He
delivered it. Yep.
Yeah. It just screams off the page. So much so that it reminded me in my teenage years when I was going into drugstores and the spinner racks and getting those John Carter Mars books or those Ace Tarzan paperbacks or whatever. Right. All right. He nailed it. It's that same feel that we were after. All right. And again, Gary did a great job with the story. The story is action packed from beginning to end. I don't know if he's got any more planned, but I'd like to see them because he's got a great cast of characters.
It's got potential for a series.
Sequels. Yeah, definitely.
Whether he wants to or not. Yep. All right.
And so here we go. As fittingly as it should be, wrapping up, this list with a title that Rob and I had been promoting, I want to say at least a year and a half on these shows. Telling you we had something in the works and it was special. It was going to be out there. Here we go. All right. It is now out there. All right. And that's Sherlock Holmes,
sir.
Consulting Detective, Volume 20. And this is our super special volume suggested by writer Ian Watson. The lead story is The Strand Magazine Murders. The idea of the story propelled Rob to produce 2 format editions beside our regular Kindle edition. The first we have is our usual paperback edition size, and the second is a larger a la magazine kind of, homage, all right? The volume also includes stories by Ray Lovato, Michael Black, and Teal James Glenn. Now, the idea with all of this, was mutual inspiration big time, all right? Because Ian first came to us, just as I read off the agenda sheet, with the idea of, we're coming on to volume 20. Shouldn't that be something really unique and special? And Rob and I agreed totally, 100%, all right? Yeah. And, add to the fact that Ian's been in every single issue of Consulting Detective. Yep. He's not missed a one, right? Which then, it was like a basketball court thing, bounced it into my half of the court. And I had been thinking about this for such a long time, all right, because I see reproduced copies of the Strand magazine all the time. And, I get books on Sherlock Holmes and Sidney Paget, and there you go. All right.
And this was part of the inspiration. And I'm hoping that it won't, it blipped me out. But you can see it's got the Sidney Paget illustrations in there and the whole bit. But I used this as the template for how to build this particular book. So,
right. And so the thing was, I went back to Ian and I said, Ian, here we go. I says, we're more than on board to do something unique with this volume, per your request. I said, let all of us have a lot of fun, and especially as a gift to all our loyal airmen who've made this our best-selling series ever. I says, can you give me a story where somebody gets killed at the Strand and Holmes and Watson have to solve a mystery? It seemed just perfect. And of course, being Ian came back and within days and had a plot and was writing away like crazy and delivers this fantastic story. Yeah. And it's authentic to the setting. Yeah. He's telling you about the Strand, where it's at, how it worked, all that while you're reading and enjoying a fictional, Holmes mystery. So that was it. And then, like Rob just said, Rob immediately came on board and said, well, we'll make it look like the Strand magazine, giving himself a whole lot of extra work.
Headache. This is, as I would tell Ron over and over again, I'd say, this book is kicking my butt because this is the first time I've done 2 columns on a page. And that the larger format is 7x10, which is close to magazine size. And so I went with a 2 column on each page, and then inserting the illustrations in. And in some cases, the text goes around and takes on the shape of the illustrations. That really kicked my behind. I didn't do a lot of those because it was so difficult to get it to work properly. Because sometimes letters would pop on the other side of the illustration. There'd be a B, so and so will be, and then the B would flip over to the other side of the illustration and be over there by itself. So I'd have to fix those kind of things. So that took a long time. But man, am I proud of the way this book turned out. And then having to do essentially 2 more versions in doing the 6x9 is what is our usual format. And then also in the Kindle, which is another slightly different format. I tried something even a little different with that, and which turned out really well. It's one of the better looking Kindle books. There's always problems with the Kindle books in getting the illustrations to fall properly or to be the right size. I fuss with them, but sometimes I would like each illustration because in our books there are usually a full page. They won't fit into the Kindle as a full page. Some of them are small, some of them are big. This one I figured out how to get all the illustrations to be the right size, and that's to put them at the beginning of the chapter, and it works. So there's 1 illustration at the beginning of each chapter. In the 7x10 book, the larger size, not only do we have many, many more illustrations, and like I said, some of them inserted in different spots. The very first story, the Strand murder, actually, there's an illustration on each and every page of that story. So you're getting a lot more than you would in one of our other books. Then in the other, what are there, 3 stories? 3 other stories? Yes. 1, 2. Yeah, there's 3 other stories and a poem from T.L. James Glenn. And in those, it was so much work getting an illustration for every page that I went to, this is going to be every 3rd or 4th page is going to have an illustration on it. And what we did was, in order to cut down a little bit on the work I had to do, Ian Watson's daughter, Rhiannon, went through all of our old illustrations, all of our previous editions of consulting, and said, well, this illustration might work for this if you just crop it a little bit or whatever. I did a lot of that, but in some cases they needed brand new illustrations. So I did a lot of spot illustrations, not full page ones like we usually do, but what's called a spot illustration. Mostly not much background, but the character that's in that part of the story. I worked my behind off on this book, and I'm hoping it shows when you purchase a copy and you open it up and you see all that fun stuff. Now, one more thing, and then I'll let this go because I'm so happy with how this turned out. We also, Ian wrote and indicated what kind of ads that the Strand magazine might have in it. And we have inserted some of those that look vintage into the book as well in strategic points. So the 7x10 one has all of that stuff. The 6x9 has a smattering of the ads. Should have most of the same illustrations in it, but the ads there's only 2 or 3 of those. And then the Kindle has no ads and quite a few less illustrations in it, but I think it's more streamlined and works better as a Kindle in that fashion. So this is all to say, please go out and buy a copy because I
And
think
look,
you'll really like it.
if you've been following, the entire series, and picked up the first 19, yeah, I mean, you do not want to miss having this one in your collection. I predicted in my press releases that it's coming out of the gate as a collector's edition right off the bat. All right, you will want to have this, and if you will, I shouldn't be doing this, but excuse me, I'm going to go out of camera for a second because this is part of this whole thing.
Okay. And I'll say while he's out of the camera, I did not charge any extra for the special edition of this. The 7x10 version is the same price as the 6x9 version, the exact same price. I don't know if we'll be able to keep it at that price, but for now, it's at the same price you would pay for the 6x9 version. So what have you got there, Ron?
Okay, I wanted to bring this up because earlier in the year, online, I saw our mutual friend Paul Bishop, right?
Yeah.
Had done a review of a book he found, all right, online at Amazon, titled From Holmes to Sherlock. Okay. And it is by a Dutch gentleman, translated into English, Matthias Bostrom, Bostrom, and it's translated by a Michael Gallagher. All right. The subheading on the inside flyleaf, from Holmes to Sherlock, the story of the men and women who created an icon. All right.
Wow.
This thing is it is one of the most remarkable, complete research book. The index goes like 30 pages. The actual book itself is 370 pages long. All right.
The doorstop.
It is the most entire story of Sherlock Holmes. It's the story of Arthur Conan Doyle. It's the story of his family. It's the story of the actors who played him on radio and silent films, on movies, Basil Rathbone, all the way to Jeremy Brett, to Cumberbatch, to the movies, to the kids shows. There's nothing left out. This is all of Sherlock Holmes and his effect on the 20th century and beyond. All right, Rob? And it ties in really well with what we were doing. I'd like to think that, our special volume 20 will be noted someday by, Sherlockian collectors and whatever. And you didn't mention one thing which I wanted you to touch, and that's why I want to grab this book. This is available at Amazon. Again, remember the title, From Holmes to Sherlock. You really got to pick this up. Tell us about the cover and how that came together.
Well, I wanted to do something that looked like the Strand magazine had covers. So I went online and I Googled them and I saw some of them, and I also tried to find some images of the Strand is actually the name of the street on which the offices are. They named the magazine after the street, which runs through London. And so I wanted a picture of that street that I could use to put on that cover, because several of the covers that I saw had images of that street drawn or photographs or whatever. So I found one of those, and then on one of the early ones they had a cameo looking image of Sherlock Holmes off to one side, and so that's what I did. I found that illustration. Well, it was in black and white, but I put it into Photoshop, and Photoshop has a filter that will colorize black and white images. So I put that in there, and you play with the filters to get it right, so the tints and everything are correct. So it's in full color, and it's a scene of the Strand, the street, with people in carriages and all that, and then off to the side is the cameo-looking Sherlock Holmes. Now I tried to find a font that was close to what was used on the Strand magazine covers. There were several different fonts that they used, and I looked through my collection of fonts, and I found one that I liked that looked very magazine coverish. So at the very top, I have a little banner across the top that says Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective Volume 20. Then under that, in bigger letters, it says featuring the Strand magazine murder underneath it. So it looks like it's the Strand magazine. So
Right.
at first glance, it looks like
I absolutely love it. The first time
I had a ball with this whole book. I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you know, it seems like you reach pinnacles of creativity in what we do, and you go to yourself, well, I don't think I'll top that. But somehow or other you do. Somehow or other, some idea comes along, right? Like Ian's launching this whole thing, right? And here's the end result after about a year and a half of a lot of hard work, and it's out there. And we have every right to be damn proud of it. We really, really do. So hopefully you loyal Airmen will go out and grab a copy. And please drop us a line. Let us know what you thought of it, okay? And so that's it. We're pretty much caught up with what we've been doing since we last, joined you all way back in spring. And now we can even have this little added feature, i.e., Rob, what to look forward to?
What to look forward to? Well, there's several more volumes of Mystery Men and Women and Pulp Mythology in the works. We've also got new Kygor Jungle Lord adventures coming in Jungle Tales Volume 3, and more Moon Man stories in a Volume 4 of that series. Now, Ron just handed me, this isn't in the show notes here, but Ron handed me the text for another book from
Wayne Carey.
Wayne Carey. Thank you. Which is, if anybody remembers, we did the executive.
Oh, Prejudice?
No, it was a political thriller, also written by him, that I just loved to illustrate and did the cover of, and made it look like a modern thriller book, and that's with some pulpy feel to it. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to do something similar with this particular book. But it's also in the works. But I just got the text. Haven't even read more than like the first few pages of it. I haven't done any thumbnails for the illustrations or anything, but I'm gonna be doing the cover and the interiors of that one. And then there'll be some more books down the line. That Mystery Men is coming. What else was you were tossing a few other things at me, but those are all on the list. Might not be out this year.
Well, we've got I believe we've got Secret Agent X. Yeah, Volume 7 assembled.
We haven't done one of those for a while. It'd be great to do.
Going to be yours, nobody else's. Okay, so yeah. As for Wayne's book, it's called Falco and Company. Okay, and it is definitely the debut of a new series, and it's very, very much Mission Impossible, modern day spy thrillers and action or whatever, with an eclectic cast of characters that you're gonna absolutely love. Okay, it's a great book.
Yeah, and I know Wayne's been anxious to get this one out there because you've had it for a while.
Yeah, I wrote him a letter after sending you the manuscript. I wrote him a short letter saying it's happening. Okay, we're getting into production.
Yeah, we finally got it in. Yeah.
Please bear with us. All right. And aside from the other titles that you mentioned here, reading what's coming ahead, I think our next release is going to be another Book Hunters adventure by Barbara Moran.
And I can tell you that's true, because just before we started recording, Gordon Domowski, who was doing the proofreading, sent me the proofed copy of it. So it's on the agenda. It's in the queue to be done. I've got to do the editing on this and the other video. But right after that, I'm going to start working on doing those corrections and then get it off to Barbara so she can she can proof it. So we're inching closer to getting that one out. So yeah, that one looks like to be the next one out.
Right. Yep. And just to mention, Gary Cotto did the interiors. And Guy Davis the cover, which is a fun cover. It looks really, really cool. So that's there. The other thing that I hope we'll be able to get out before the end of the year, another volume. I'm going to need a couple stories, but that I really would like to do another Bass Reeves Frontier
Yeah.
Law book. We've got two.
That's one of them.
We've got two stories, in the queue right now. I need two more to fill the volume, and I bring that up for no other reason than today was the start of Dragon Con in Atlanta, right?
Mm-hmm.
The weekend, the holiday weekend. This is the time they run it, and I found out only early in this week from our fellow publisher and friend Milton Davis. There's an actual Bass Reeves panel happening at Dragon Con this year. And not only is Milton on it, but so is Bobby Nash, our friend. All right. So, again, the popularity, especially with the recent Paramount TV miniseries, A-Pod miniseries, again, there is much more interest in the character of this American hero. And so that's always a great thing to see. And after that, who knows? All right, we've got tons of stuff out there that keep coming our way all the time. We're having a blast doing this. There's no let up in sight, apparently. All right, it just keeps coming, and that's the way we like to have it. Again, and then we'll be looking forward to wrapping up the year, getting back to Windy City. And
I don't think we have ever had this many books out at this point in the year.
No.
This is the first. And that I can attribute that mostly to the fact that we've got Ron Hill, who is really good and really fast, and Daryl Purcell, who is also good and fast, doing his own books. And apparently he had a couple of these books that we published of his. He had them in his possession and was just looking for a place to put them. But he's turned those around fast, and it just seems like Sam Salas has been doing a lot of stuff for us. The dam burst. The first part of the year, it didn't completely come to a halt at any point, but it seemed like things were coming really slowly. And then February or March, the dam broke, and it's just been a rush of books ever since. And I didn't think I'd ever get to Consulting Detective 20. I was hoping to get to that back in March or April, and it just came out. So, and this is August. So yeah, it's been a crazy year. But we're keeping on. I don't know how many we'll have done by the end of the year, but we still got quite a few in the queue that will probably show up. So we're probably gonna have a record number of books come out this year. So yeah, we'll see.
All right. Okay. As ever, we're at that point at the end of the episode.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Else you want to add at all before?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. There were a couple of things that I had thought of, and then you brought them up, so we're good.
All right.
All right. Go ahead. All right,
okay.
I can't put it off any longer, folks. We're going to have to hear it.
Lock your ears.
Here it comes.
All right. It's the World Cup final, and a man makes his way to his seat right next to the pitch. He sits down, noticing that the seat next to him is empty. He leans over and asks his neighbor if someone will be sitting there. No, says the neighbor, the seat is empty. That is incredible, said the man. Who in their right mind would have a seat like this for the final and not use it? The neighbor says, well, actually, the seat belongs to me. I was supposed to come with my wife, but she passed away. This is the first World Cup final we haven't been together since we got married. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's terrible. But couldn't you find someone else? I mean, a friend, a relative, or even a neighbor to take her seat? The man shakes his head. No, they're all at the funeral.
Oh, I did not see that coming.
I had to dig for that one.
That's funny.
I went through like 4 or 5 different sites, and as you know, they repeat the same ones that we've been using for years.
And there's a lot of pun jokes, real short pun jokes. trying to find a story joke
no
is
punch with a, right. I mean,
No,
the
no.
longer you make the story, the more the anticipation comes for the sidewind, right?
For the payoff. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I read this one, I told Valerie, and I thought she was going to fall on the floor laughing so hard. All right. She absolutely loved it. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it made the cut. Yeah, but yeah, finding jokes for this, folks, is not an easy task.
Yeah, but we do it for you because you're worth it. There you go.
Yeah, we're going to get all the comments at the end. Oh, thanks.
Okay, amigo. Well, we've done it. We've taken up enough of your valuable time.
You will never get back.
Go ahead and sign us out, amigo.
All right. This is Chief Engineer Rob Davis signing off.
And as ever, Captain Ron says, down ship.